This is fun. I'm, I don't know, 15 miles on my journey home, and the warning light came on for water. I thought, oh, you bastard. So I pulled into a lay-by barely a mile later. The temperature gauge hadn't started to climb by that point. But it shat a core plug, you fucker! And it's above the starter motor as well. 8:40 and I'm back. Back at my father's, oh pardon me, back at my father's. The car's been recovered back. I don't think there's any lasting damage. It's popped a core plug. Why it popped a core plug, I'm not entirely sure. So after that, first of all I had to abandon my trip home that evening. The next day my dad, fortunately, was able to loan me his car, so I was able to bugger off in that for 4 or 5 days because I couldn't get my car fixed in the short amount of time I had available, and I had to rush home and sort of dropping kids off at university and all that sort of crap, you know, general family stuff, which I really enjoyed doing. So I returned back to Devon a week later, dismantled half the engine. No, I didn't. I just took the starter motor out. It's a bit of a faff, but you know, I could do without it. Hammered another core plug in, again using the product that I've always used, which is Stag Well Seal. Gloopy stuff. It's a sealing compound. It works really, really well. I've never had problems with it before. I suppose some people may be aralditing their core plugs in, but I wouldn't recommend that. Anyway, so I used a sealing compound, tapped it in, pressurised the system back up to 15 pounds, no problems at all. The head gasket. I mean, the reason I had to do the head gaskets in the first place because it was using a fair amount of coolant. And that situation didn't really fix itself after I'd done the head gasket and replaced all the core plugs, which I was a little bit irritated by, but because it was a pre-existing condition, didn't really put 2 and 2 together, I guess. So got it all back together again, thought, do you know what, let's go for a test drive. I've cut the most extreme profanity out of this as it happened moment, but here's what happened next. I've fucking done it again. Where's it come from? Which fucking core plug this time? Oh, this is really fucking a ball's ache, this is. I'll start to run out of fucking antifreeze in the universe. It's the one behind the engine mount, I believe. Has it actually popped it? No. Right, the starter motor one's still in. The one behind the engine mount's still in. And yet I can confirm that the core plug, the middle core plug on the driver's side, had in fact departed at great velocity and is somewhere on the A399, probably still as we speak. Get a metal detector, you'll probably find it in a hedgerow up there. But that's another 5 litres of antifreeze shat all over the road. And I don't like wasting this stuff, and it's not a particularly nice chemical at the best of times. Anyway, blue glycol it was, that particular occasion. So it shat it all over the place. So I thought, right, this is even more irritating. So luckily my dad was at home. He came out in his Range Rover, towed me back, because it was only about 3 or 4 miles away from base, rather than waiting 15 hours for the RAC to decide that they're not going to turn out because this fault had already been attended to. Which is more than reasonable. If they've already turned out to replace a core plug and towed me home, then I wouldn't expect them necessarily to come out again for the same fault, but on a different core plug. So, luckily, my dad was able to tow me home. So, that core plug didn't require the starter motor removal, but it was a pain to get to. I did manage to get another core plug tapped in, again using Stag Well Seal. Again, I filled the cooling system up, pressured the cooling system up to about 15 psi using my hand pump, and no leaks, nothing, not a sausage. So then I'm thinking, well, this is weird. I wonder if it's the different rate of expansions that's causing the problem here, and perhaps I should be aralditing these fucking things in like a heathen. Maybe I should be aralditing these things in. So I warmed the engine through. I didn't have the pressure cap on it at the time. And when the second cap blew, I hadn't. The LPG was not part of the cooling system, so I'm certainly going to discount the LPG vaporizer on that, because the first time I'd done about 500 miles or so, and was getting the odd whiff of antifreeze as I was driving on the motorway, and I was using it on LPG, and it was using a fair amount of coolant, so it would get through about I don't know, half a litre in 200 miles, which is excessive. After it blew the first one behind the starter motor, I decided to disconnect the LPG just to completely discount that as a root cause, because the LPG is the only place where high pressure gas or high pressure liquid gas and the cooling system come alongside each other, other than the engine block. And I was confident that the engine was now sealed and there was no head gasket blow or anything like that. So, and anyway, that's what the pressure cap's for crying out loud. Anyway, so I got rambling there a little bit about LPG. But what I effectively did was, with the expansion cap off the cooling system, I warmed it up, really, because I was checking for bubbles, and I had a block tester on it as well, just to absolutely confirm there were no head gasket problems, and there weren't. No bubbles in the coolant tank, no block test negative results. Cooling system was behaving absolutely as it should do. So I warmed the engine through, and then thought, I'll do another pressure check. So I pumped it up again to 15 psi, rolled underneath the car, and all 6 core plugs, 3 down each side, were leaking. And I'm thinking, you don't want to know what I was thinking. It wasn't very nice, though. But, right, so then I did a bit of online research, because obviously wherever you buy core plugs from in Land Rover world, they're pretty much guaranteed to come in a blue bag of joy and wonderment. I did a bit of a Google research against the part number, but then eventually I found a company that specialises in core plugs. Oh, well, let's order a pack from them and see what they say. So I went on their website, they're enginecoreplugs.com. Went onto their website and typed in the Land Rover part number, or the Rover V8 part number. I don't know if it's just a Land Rover, but it's because, Rover V8s are put in quite a few cars, and the core plugs are all the same for all of them. So I popped the part number in, and it came back. Yep, we've got one of those, made in the UK, blah, 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 blah. I can't remember, might have been made in the UK, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so I popped in the part number, and it responded back, yes, they had that part. So I thought, you know what, let's order a load. And while I was there, I ordered some Durco. Durco HT is it's a silicon-based sealing compound, so it's just slightly different from the Stag Well Seal, which stays wet and slippery. I think that the Durco HT is a German product, and it's designed for very, very high temperature situations, and it's a silicon sealer. It's not a glue. You can still get the core plugs out, and I proved that because I wanted to make sure I wasn't gluing the damn things in. So I ordered a pack of those. And when they arrived, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a dimension check. I'm going to actually measure these enginecoreplugs.com core plugs against the Britpart core plugs. And I found that there was quite a significant difference in size. When I was measuring it, it was between 0.25 millimetres and 0.3 millimetres that the engine core plugs were bigger, larger in diameter than the Britpart core plugs. I'm thinking, maybe that 0.25 to 0.3 millimetres is what the engine needs as it's starting to warm through, unless you're arrowditing the fucking things in, which I don't recommend. Engine freeze plugs are there for a reason. Actually, no, they were there to help the casting, and also if you decide you're not going to put antifreeze in, then they're going to help. I don't know. Perhaps they should be arrowdited in, I don't know. Comments underneath. So I then decided to write to Britpart. Now, I was writing to Britpart. My sole objective here was to notify Britpart of a possible problem with a batch of core plugs that they've got. I'm not looking for compensation, not looking for refunds, not looking for snivelling, grovelly, crawling on the floor apologies or any shit like that. That's not the way I operate. I know that when a part is sold, labour to replace that part, should it become faulty, is very, very, very rarely included. In fact, you normally have to go to court to justify those sort of moves. So I wasn't looking for anything other than to notify Britpart that they had a problem with their batch. And I got it was an email I sent. I sent it to sales@britpart.com because there's no customer services number whatsoever for Britpart. Sirs, I purchased a complete sealed bag of core plugs, part number 602152 from John Craddock's, 10th of December 2018. Another reason why I was not looking to pursue any claim on this whatsoever because I've had them on the shelf for a while. The only identifying mark on the bag is GI33747. This may help you identify the batch. I then went through on the email explaining that I've been through a top end overhaul because of a head gasket failure and decided to replace the tired core plugs in my engine, which I've demonstrated in the video before this, with 6 items from this shipment. Use stag well seal as a jointing compound. Alas, during testing, the engine ejected 1 core plug from the block side. I was able to quickly stop the vehicle, no lasting damage, etc, etc, etc. Thorough check of the cooling system took place after I've installed the 7th core plug out of this bag. No issues identified, no abnormal behaviour with the cooling system. Alas, within a few miles of fitting the replacement core plug, I had to have the car recover back again. Luckily, on both occasions, able to switch off, no lasting damage. Installed the 8th core plug. Pressurised the cooling system, found no leaks, and as I've just explained before, I pointed out that once warm and I pressurised, I found all 6 core plugs were leaking. I then pointed out that I'd recovered a bag of core plugs under the Land Rover part number from enginecoreplugs.com using a calibrated vernier gauge, had found that the new core plugs are 0.3 millimetres larger in diameter than the Brit Park core plugs. Okay. I pointed out that 3 hours of my own labour were utilised to remove 6 Brit Park core plugs and install the new core plugs, and since there's been no further issues despite 2,000 miles being covered. Okay, seek your feedback prior to publishing my results on the YouTube channel. Seems fair, doesn't it? I'm not threatening. There's no malice involved in that whatsoever. Signed off, Richard Hudson, Managing Director, Church House Classics Limited. Because I feel it's, I have a duty of care to notify a supplier when I think there's something wrong with the part that they're selling. And I've done it for Brit Park before. There's no real issues with it. And I'm, like I say, I'm not looking for grovelling, snivelling apologies or for Brit Park to fall on a sword metaphorically or any shit like that. Didn't hear anything for a few days or so, but it takes a while for these things to be sorted out. Anyway, Brit Park have come back to me via John Craddock's. And basically what they've said is, we've received a below email from end user who advises to purchase some products that seem to be incorrectly sized. Fair enough. Compared to our stock, same GI as the end user mentioned, this is their batch obviously, to the supplier samples which we have, which all measure the same. So what they got, I've compared our stock, same GI as the end user mentioned, to the supplier samples we have, which all measure the same, see below. So basically what they've got here is they've sent over some pictures and they've measured the vernier, using the vernier, and they've all come out at 38.14 millimetres. 3 pictures of them. Okay. In 2013, we purchased a total of 25,500 of these. We've been selling them since. We've only got 348 left. This will confirm that we sold a total of 25,000, no reported issues. At this stage, we've got no concerns with the products on sale. That's fair. They've put a bit of time into it and they've investigated it, which I guess is more or less, I've let them know. Can't do any more than that. So, let me measure them. Let's see where we're going wrong with this, because something's going wrong somewhere. And I don't think it's me. Right, here we go. So, excuse the scruffy workbench here. I've been busy. What I've basically got is I've got, out of my bag of 10 ECP core plugs, for some reason I've got 2 left. I think because I installed one with the Durco, left it in for a day and just checked I could remove it. That Durco wasn't a glue. I don't know where the other one's gone, but anyway, it's gone somewhere. And then I've got a pair of the Brit Park ones, which I've marked with a cross, because I'm not cross, but I don't want to use them. So let's start. So my vernier caliper, I do calibrate this from time to time, and I've got some fixed width devices, normally in thousandths of an inch, but I calibrated this not very long ago. But it's not so much the calibration that I'm interested in here, it's the difference in the size between the 2 different core plugs. Okay, so we'll take, now when you're looking at a core plug, these things are slightly tapered. So you've got the inside edge of the core plug, which goes in first into the block, and you've got the outside edge, which needs to be flush with the outside of the block, or just slightly indented, but not too far. That edge is wider than that edge. So they go in, and the idea is they're a friction fit, interference fit. So if I measure the outside edge on this one, we'll use that as the most critical point here. And I've got 38.25. Okay, 38.25. If we work in tenths and I'll round, okay, 38.3, 38.3, 38.3, I'm rounding that up, 38.3. Just pick the other one. Just double check. I'm going to call that 38.3. 38.3. In fact, it's probably 500 smaller. 38.3. So that one's on the the loose side of 38.3 millimeters. And that was on the tight side of 38.3 millimeters. Now, so do the same thing now with the enginecoreplugs.com. Outer edge, measuring that, 38.45. Okay. So if I was to round that up, then I'd end up with, and these are cold at the moment because it is cold, 38.42, 38.47, I think that was 46, we'll go 46, 38.43. No tricks, no magic, no hairs, no bits of tape wrapped around the edge of them. It's just the size that they are bigger. 46. We'll measure the other one. There we go, 4.4, and I'm just rotating it 90 degrees each time, and then rechecking it 4.3, 4.4. So the sizes between them are fairly consistent. Now, Britpart in their email, they said some vernier calibrations here of some things which I'm not entirely clear what they actually are, but I think they're part of their batch from the original stuff that came in. So they ordered in 2013. So here we've got something that's gone in 4th of April 2013, and I don't actually know what this test was, but they're showing on their vernier caliper 38.14. So let's find out if the inner measurement, the narrower measurement, is 38.14. Not far off it. Yeah. So they've measured the inner measurement, 38.12. 38.14. Okay, so that's where the 38.14 comes from on their measurements, which is fine. Thank you very much. You've done a bit of research here. You've measured your core plugs. You confirmed that they're all the same size. Fantastic. I can confirm also mine are 38.14-ish. Yeah, they're within a couple of hundredths of 38.14. So I'm fairly happy that this is reasonably calibrated. Now, if we measure the inner face on the other core plug, on the engine core plugs, 38.27. I mean, that's effectively, if we round that like we have been rounding the Britpart ones, 38.3. 38.26. Oops, get hold of it properly so it doesn't fall out. 38.29. So effectively what we found is that on the mating face, the inner face of the engine core plug's core plug, has too many core plugs in there, is larger in diameter than the outer face on the Britpart core plug. So effectively, that diameter there, that diameter there is the same as that diameter there. And I've just been able to prove that using my vernier on my bench using a pair of core plugs from enginecoreplugs.com, Land Rover 602152, against Britpart from this batch GI 33747 602152. Same part, these are smaller. Now, as I say, when the engine starts to warm up, with these in, using stag well seal, none of them leaked when the engine was cold and pressured. As soon as the engine started to warm through and was pressured, then they all started leaking. These ones, because 5 out of the 6 are an utter ball's ache to get in. 5 out of the 6 I used Durco HT because I thought I'm honestly not going to do this again. 1 I put in with stag well seal. None of them are leaking. No coolant loss, no coolant drop. Done a few thousand miles in it now. On petrol, no LPG still. Exactly the same as the when the second core plug shut itself. And I am confident that these have fixed my problem. And these were the cause of my problem. So make into that what you will. I can't criticise Britpart. All they've done is measured like for like. I can't criticise John Craddock. They've listened to Britpart, and apparently there are 25,102 satisfied core plugs out there which haven't leaked. Well, actually, no. We need to take 6 off that. So of the 25,102, 6 I know are rubbish. I'm actually going to say a whole 10. So we're going to say 25,092 satisfied people out there. But perhaps because these things are pennies, when people install them, and they think, oh, that's too loose, they can't be I don't know, maybe I'm the first person to pick this up and say, these is too small. And if these are the same part number, how come they are bigger? You make your mind up about it. It's up to you. If I was to build an engine again, there's no way am I using those. And in fact, when I measure a core plug from now on, I'm looking at the minimum size on the minimum diameter I want to be looking at is 38.3. Not 38, sorry, missed that then, 38.14 or 38.13. So 38.3 is the minimum, is what I will put in as a core plug. Now, if I convert that to inches, 1.5 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches and 7/1000ths. 1.5 inches dead. Yeah. 500,000ths, but this plus or 5 on the end here, because this thing's not that, it's calibrated, but I don't regard it as being calibrated down to thousandths, which is why I use micrometers when it comes to thousandths. But I'm quite happy to work in hundredths and tenths of an inch and tenths of a millimeter on this. It's good enough for that. So we've got 1.5 inches on the nail, 1.5 inches, slightly smaller than 1.5 inches. Woohoo! Slightly bigger than 1.5 inches. Well, these aren't even round, are they? Slightly bigger. Let's check that again, because it might just be me. Gravity. Not seen you today in this video. Again. 1.5 inches. They're 1.5 inches. These ones are on the mating face 6 to 7/1000ths of an inch bigger. Now, 6 to 7/1000ths of an inch on an engine, as far as tolerances are concerned, is significant. If we look at the outer face on these, I know that the outer face does compress, it's designed to compress, but we've got 1.5 inches and 14/1000ths. Yeah? And on this one, we have got 1.5 inches and 7/1000ths. So again, we've got 7/1000ths of an inch difference. 25/1000ths of an inch is your spark plug gap. Anyway, that was it. I hope you enjoyed this enlightening video. I hope I wasn't too ranty. I hope I was sweary enough. Just, you know, all I can say is, just, you know, caveat emptor.